Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Made in Abyss Weekly, the show where I am joined by Best Guy Ever
Hey, dude, what's going on?
to discuss Made in Abyss. We just watched episode 4, and it was pretty alright. It was kind of exactly what I expected it to be,
Yeah,
if maybe a little slower than I might have hoped.
unfortunately true. Unfortunately, a little bit slow.
Although I would say, it's not that it's slow to get past the first floor. Like, I kind of expected them to take at least a whole episode to get past the early
Same,
stage, but I thought maybe there'd be more going on
There
the
was
first floor.
there was a certain plot thread kind of going throughout the episode that I'm sure we'll discuss that I expected to be delivered upon at the very end that wasn't, and as a consequence of that, the episode felt a little empty. Yeah, like the ending rang a little hollow when we got there. But, in general, I did like it. God, that fucking music. Just fill my body in every orifice with this fucking music, please.
Yeah,
every week.
Fantastic.
It's so good. It's so fucking good. And I really loved, as we go down here, the feeling of vastness and the wind sounds and just the environment they're exploring. It's just the best.
I'm glad that we got to I'm glad that we both spent a little more time on floor 1, but are also getting past it as fast as possible because we've already seen it in the first 3 episodes quite a bit. We've got a sense for what this first early newbie area is like, and again, I wasn't sure if they were going to have it like be more of a gradual change as you go down the abyss. It seems more like it's just like hardline segments.
It does seem that way, yeah. I mean, the first and second floors do seem fairly similar. They're both like foresty areas, but there is a clear drop off. Like, okay, where there's a hole, and once you're past that hole, you are in the second floor, and it's a new world.
Right. And
they really emphasize that like layer thing.
Yeah. So this time we're just kind of going down, and it's an odd sense of pacing to this episode because at the beginning it's going along very relaxed. There's this sense of like, okay, they're off on the adventure. They've already cut all their ties. They're slowly making their way through. But then there's kind of a reveal that they haven't severed all their ties yet. Now they got to run really fast through the rest of the floor.
It's a little jarring.
It's sort of like take your time to breathe in the first floor a little bit more. Make sure we've got our full taste of it before we leave it behind. But then immediately let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Which was I mean, I was kind of just expecting them to keep doing that the whole time, so I was a little caught off guard by the relaxed pace. Like, the episode starts with them just having slept all night, and they just wake up, which I was surprised to see, but okay, I figured they would just be hustling. But no, they took a little breather.
I think part of it was that it was kind of unclear where we were and how much time had passed because like she wakes up and she's like, oh, I guess I must have just passed out, and I kind of gave me a sense that they had been walking for a couple days when she said that, and the way he was using his arm set up, I don't know, it just felt like they were already in the adventure.
It did.
And then we realized shortly afterwards that no, it's been like
a couple hours or something.
Maybe when it first showed the image, I thought maybe they had fallen and passed out from the fall, but then that didn't seem to be the case. I don't know. It was kind of unclear. But then so essentially the thrust of this episode is they're out having the adventure. They find that the robot boy Regu has had the notes that Rico's mom took about the deeper floors have been slipped into his pocket by the chief guy, the
one
leader.
that you were so insistent had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, I was
strike
surprised.
one for the bestie boy.
Yep.
Wait, not strike one. Strike one for you. I get the point. That's I win. You lose. Right.
And they find a letter inside of it that's basically like, I'm giving you a head start, but I'm going to chase you down by morning. And they both interpret this as, this must be a final test for us. We have to see if we can get to floor number 2 before being found by Leader. And that will prove that we are worthy of this journey. And, so that's all that really happens in terms of like the plot of this episode. But there's lots of little world building tidbits in
there.
There
Are more than world building.
Nice.
There are some like sort of explanations given. I, for one, was glad to see at the beginning of the episode them like the good thing about that slow part was that they clearly were taking their time to show the survival skills that these kids have and how they're going to actually make it down there. They clearly show them how they're going to get food, what kind of cooking abilities they have. They know how to skin and cut fish. They're not like the Elric brothers when they first ended up on that island that they had to like, embrace, like fucking learn how to kill a rabbit to survive. These kids already got that shit under control, which I was
Orphan
just glad
life,
to see.
Man, they got to know their shit.
Man. Damn right.
So Rico's not a good cook, but she is serviceable enough that they can live off of the food that she can make.
I didn't mention last time how funny I find the description of Rico bombs, which you see her eating at the very first thing she does in episode 1. She's eating a bunch of these giant, hideous rice balls.
I didn't even notice that they were in episode 1.
I had to watch it twice to see them, but they're like the first thing she does. She's fucking around. She sits down. She eats them. Just a small little detail, like there's just these horrible things that she makes and eats. Yeah. But now we're learning she's got some more skills and the way. I was happy to see them learning how to start a campfire. They're covering the bases as to like from now on through the rest of the show, we don't ever have to worry about like in general how they're staying alive. Yeah. We know they've got those skills.
Yeah, and they probably won't show us too much of that.
Exactly.
Again.
Exactly.
We've gotten to see it and it's out of the way.
It's a little laborious, but you just got to bear with it. And you know what? Yeah. This is the sort of thing that like a guy like me, as a reader of One Piece for like 15 years, goes through every week when I'm like, I just want more. Like, okay, what happened this episode was good, but for the love of God, get to the thing you're getting to. And I think for guys like you who don't do that, it's probably especially jarring. I mean, I didn't love it either, but I think like if we were to watch the show again, once all the episodes are done, we would feel much less of that. We wouldn't even think about it. We'd just be on the episode next right now.
It's just sort of right. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a feeling of not being sure what pacing they're going for with this show.
Right.
Like we had like those first 3 episodes, it felt like it really took its time to get on the adventure. But now that we're on the adventure, we have no idea how it's going to change. Mm-hmm. And so to see that it's still maintaining this relatively slow pace makes me think, okay, we're not getting that far before this season's over. Like, we're not making it to an especially deep level, The show is not rushing at all. If it seems like it might be confident it's going to try to have a second season, because how could it not? Like, they're not even trying to rush this in the slightest,
And that's just fine. That's just fine. As long as they keep up the quality. But like the slower pace at the beginning was just awkward in the sense that I really felt like this is the time, and this is what comes up later. Like there should be a sort of mini arc now about shaking off their pursuers. It's totally natural that like they try to chase them. It has been established that it's a thing that they try to chase runaways down to the first layer and not the second layer. That's established. We all know that's happening, and it comes up here. But what really felt strange about the end of this episode was the fact that Leader didn't show up, that we're just like that question is left open, and that to me that just means he's gotta show up later. Like there's too much going on with this guy now, and that's like an open question for me. What's up with this guy? He's a purple whistle, so we know he's been down to the second layer before. I just feel like that's like I felt like it would have been good to tie that up here, and the fact that they didn't is this kind of pacing thing. It's like, okay, now was the time to really cut off ties with the surface world and get beyond it, and they didn't.
Unless he's just meant to be an ongoing mystery, Maybe we're meant to have him in the back of our minds for a while.
Which I will.
Yeah. And, it's a little strange that... I guess the reason that this happened is that any time past floor 1 would have been too late to establish some of these things. Yeah. Like, we kind of did need to know how they're going to survive in a safe place before we see them doing that with also the threat of constant terror, So, maybe it was a good idea to lay all this foundation. It's just kind of unfortunate that the episode has a really weird sense of stop and go as we go across it, especially with the vast difference in like literal speed that they're traveling at, where when they're like at a more relaxed pace, they're just walking. But when they're trying to haul ass, they're like grappling down hundreds of feet at a time. So it's like they're always either making very little progress or a huge amount of progress. which is kind of strange in itself. But you know, and I think some of that might come from translating manga to anime. Maybe it wouldn't feel quite so drastic of a difference if you didn't see them literally moving across the panel.
That's true.
So that's a possibility, but I don't know. I haven't read the manga, so and I won't, because I don't want to be spoiled for anything.
I might read it when we get to the end of the season. If like there's no announcement immediately for a season 2, like I'm gonna want to know what the fuck's happening. Right. I don't know if I'll be able to stop myself. You know, it's gonna be tough. Yeah. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But you know, here's a thing I was thinking about as I was going through. Actually, as I was watching the last couple episodes as well as this one. Do you think they're going to do any kind of angle where, like, our characters are the one who find sort of like... And, like, I'm really thinking of this in video game terms. Like, this really feels extremely video gamey in the sense that, like, there's this downward pull that, like, no one's done before. These are, like, the first guys adventuring down to layers that people haven't made it to before. Like, I'm wondering if these are going to be the characters who establish, like, safe... transmit routes, kind of like checkpoints in like a Castlevania, like the teleporter rooms, as like a fast travel room to the surface. What I'm wondering is, are they spending so much time on these surface characters because we're going to come back up and see them again? Are they going to have some sort of system like that where we actually do come back to the surface, which I think would kill the pacing, and I really hope doesn't happen, but I'm just wondering if we might get to that.
I can't see that happening, but it's an interesting thought, I guess.
It's really the way that the curse... I don't know, is so strangely defined. Like, I want to know if they're going to find some way to beat it, because, like, Rico seems to be suffering its effects a little bit, even in this episode, even in fucking Layer 1.
It's not the, you know, I think there's a difference between the curse you feel going up and the effects of going down.
You
like,
think so?
Going down, because he called it, like, diver's sickness or whatever from going down.
Yeah, okay, maybe
so I think it's something different from the Curse of the Abyss, but... that was something interesting about this episode, and really terrifying and unnerving and nerve-wracking is how unfit Rico is even to do Layer 1.
Yeah, it's scary.
Because we've got Regu here who, you know, is so OP that none of this is a problem for him yet. But with Rico... just running around like this is clearly wearing her out. It's clearly like a problem. He has to kind of carry her around a little bit, and like, you know, she's moments where she's like, I need a break, and it's like, you can't be this physically unfit for this journey. Like, this is Layer 1, girl. Like, you're fucked.
Like, it's cute, but I'm like legitimately scared for her. Like, deep in my heart, I'm like, that's my daughter out there. My daughter. I gotta protect her. I'm worried. Oh God, I hope she needs a montage, or she needs like a training arc real quick or something. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, and I gotta bring this up now because I haven't, you know, extensively read comments or anything on our first video, but the one thing that everyone keeps saying is, you know, that the show's going to get really depressing and dark. Yeah. Like, oh, you better have tissues on hand for this. Oh, you better be ready for that. People. Now, the thing is, I can only be so afraid because we only have 2 main characters.
True.
So the odds of one of them dying seems extremely slim.
Yeah.
Now, the odds of really horrible things happening to them, you know, pretty high. But like, you know, as long as they don't die, I can't get that depressed.
They'll bounce back. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like they're still alive. They can still keep kicking. And I think that's kind of the thing about the show is that it has such a fatalistic, like all the characters are very fatalistic, and like, man, the line that really settled in, like,
I know what you're gonna say. Go on.
What do you think?
Well, there's that one quote that Rico says: "Everything taken from the abyss will one day return to it, be it an object or a life." And she was like, "Leader taught this to me," and I'm like, who do I know who came from the abyss? If only I could think of 2 people like that. Yeah,
well,
I'm
what
scared.
I was thinking
She's
of,
gonna die.
rather than that line, it's the line immediately after that really got my attention.
Yeah.
Which is where Regu says, like, our cave divers have some humble ideas. And it just brings me back to this weird society that they're in. That they learn from a young age that they will die in the abyss.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows this, and that's why it's kind of, because for a second it takes me aback a little to think that Leader just let them go. Like, he knows they're not ready. He knows that.
He knows.
But he let them go.
He's not the only one who lets them go, but yeah, go on.
Maybe he thought he'd be able to catch up with them, or maybe he thought if he can't catch up with them, it means they were ready. Or maybe he just thought, she's gonna keep trying every night, so, like, there's nothing I can do to ultimately stop this.
I'm not as sympathetic to that reason, but yeah, go on.
But between him and this other guy, the uncle guy,
Habbo,
yeah, Habbo lets them. He is like on board with them going.
He couldn't be more excited about them going and throwing their lives away. It's great,
and it's just like, I mean, he says basically like, we're all just lost children of the abyss. Like, it's as though he thinks this was bound to happen one day. It's either now or after you grow old, you know, like...
He literally says as much, which I found to be a stupid argument, because, like, these people are fucking children. They're not prepared. Like, you can prepare for this better than these kids, but you know...
But it's
they don't
either
give a fuck.
It's either you die in the abyss when you're 10, or you die in the abyss when you're 25. Like, you're... One way or another, you die in the abyss.
They do not see a happy ending.
Is.
Yeah, they don't see, like, beating the final boss and, like, curing the sickness for everybody. They don't see it that way.
All anyone cares about is making a little progress in the abyss. Like, that's what the glory is. The glory is not, I made it to the bottom and survived. The glory is not, I lived to be 60 years old.
Dude,
the glory is, I found any information about this abyss. And that's what my life was.
I just am so... it's so refreshing to see a society that just, like... accepts its own worthlessness in the face of this majesty, this fucking supernatural, awe-inspiring thing that is the fucking abyss. And they're like, we are nothing compared to this thing. We're just doing our best to, like,
the abyss is
survive.
God in this society.
It is God. It is God. God, I love it. They're just like, we're gonna fucking die. We're gonna do our best. That's all we can do. It's all over for us, folks. Man, it's so cool. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason I can, like, buy into the way that they all let them go. Because, like, in any other show, this would bother me. It would bother me if they just, like, if adults were just letting this happen when it's been so well established that they are probably gonna die. But, like, yeah, that's just the way it fucking works here. Like, you die in the abyss. That's what people do in this society.
I'm gonna make a prediction. I think Leader is going to follow them down, and they will have an encounter with him. I suspect in Layer 2. I think like we've been set up to expect no one will follow past Layer 1, so that can be subverted, and it will show how cool and badass Leader is by the fact that he was like, I'm going down. I'm gonna fucking save those kids. I think we're gonna see something like that.
Here's a question. Yeah. So we've got something this show does extremely well is building us up for the next thing that we're going to see. So we know we're going down to Layer 2, and we know that they're going to go to this, or they're trying to get to an outpost that's down there. And the leader of this outpost is a White Whistle who helped to carry our main character to the surface.
She's the one from the flashback. Yeah, we did it.
Now, in the flashback, she's completely covered in, like, an outfit. So
by the way, that's the immovable Ozone. The immovable Ozone. Mm-hmm.
And our uncle guy is telling us, like, hey, she hasn't come back all there. Yeah. Something's wrong with her. Now, remember, you brought this up in the last podcast that they said that you can no longer be human after a certain depth. So I'm thinking we're going to find this woman is not even human anymore. Like, literally not human. So that's what I'm looking forward to. That's my prediction.
The only thing about that is I took note of what seemed like ongoing plot elements to me. I think that the leader thing is going to be fulfilled at some point fairly soon. I felt like the Ozone one is more of a long-term one. So I'm totally with you on that. Something is going to be special about her. She's like a main objective quest that they're going to encounter as they go down. So she's going to be important. That's going to be special. But I think we might not even see her this season. Like, do you remember what layer the camp was on? I thought
they were going straight to that. I thought that was like the next
I just couldn't remember what layer that was on. I thought that was in like layer 5 or something.
I have no idea. I thought it was just the next thing they were going to, like...
Maybe. If so, then
the
you're
next
definitely
waypoint.
right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely think she's going to turn out to not be human, and that's why she's down there. Like, she's not coming back out of the abyss.
Could that be her?
I
not.
would be shocked if she was an adorable little bunny girl.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I felt like they might go for a misdirect on that, but yeah, I don't know if it really checks out.
Another detail I wanted to bring up at the beginning of the episode that I was very glad for is that we got an explanation of, like, the sky. Because that was something I'd been curious about, is like, okay, we've seen in the show starts in the abyss. We clearly see that it's beautiful and bright and sunny. But then whenever we see the abyss from the outside, it's a fucking big black hole. So we learned that it's like there's a barrier, I guess, between... Because, like, layer 1 of the abyss is already, like, 400 yards down the hole, or 400 meters down the hole. So I guess between layer 1 and the surface is a barrier, and the light reflecting on the barrier creates the sky, and I was like, okay, thank God there's some reason for that, you know? I was like...
I'm down for that. That's cool.
I definitely needed an explanation of that, and I'm glad I got it.
Agreed. You know, I really liked one detail that this reminded me of. In One Piece, so there's this island, Fishman Island, that's just at the bottom of the sea, and I'd always wondered, isn't it really fucking dark at the bottom of the sea? What's up with that? And then, of course, there's that explanation about, like, there's a particular tree called Eve that gathers light and funnels it down to its roots, which sheds light over Fishman Island. And this is like that. You need an excuse. They gave us one. It's fine. I liked it.
I'm just glad that there is an excuse. You know?
Yeah. But I guess, like, we've just now learned that there just, like, is a magical sort of aura about the abyss itself. It's obviously we already knew this, but it's not just a hole. There's, like, a magic everywhere in this motherfucker.
And I'm wondering about, like, because the way he says barrier, what I want to know is it a barrier that's inherent to the abyss, or have humans put a barrier there to, like, keep the abyss monsters from coming to the surface? Like, what does the barrier do?
The only thing that's
a question I have.
I was wondering that too. Like, I was watching the Horrible Subs, and they said, like, the word force field was also used, and I don't know which is, like, more accurate for this, but, like, the only characteristic they gave it was that it magnifies light. That's, like, all they said. I don't know if it causes the curse. Like, have they measured this? Do they know exactly where it starts? I really have no idea. But I have a feling we're not going to discuss it in much more depth. It's really just there to be, like, the this is why there's light.
Is there anything else?
Well, I did want to say that when the shot of seeing, I mean, I'm just like, the landscapes, you know, of the show are still top notch. When we see the second layer for the first time, and you see, like, that hole, and there's this big, like I wrote a special, oh, by the way, I've got a whiteboard now that I'm taking notes on. And, it's pretty fucking dope. And, like, I said this before, but, like, the feeling when they're scaling down cliff sides, and they land somewhere, and the wind kicks up, and the music picks up, and then they turn around and they see the giant hole that leads into the second layer, and they say, like, second layer, we've done it, and that little infographic pops up saying, like, second layer, forest of endless trees, or, like, labyrinth of trees, or whatever it was.
It's the forest of temptation.
That's right, forest of temptation. That's very provocative. I wonder what that's going to mean.
And it looks like a butthole. So, you know.
I hear what you're saying, dude.
Yeah. Real temptation. I think another important thing we had here, and maybe this is part of why they used the uncle character for this scene. I keep calling him the uncle because that's just how they refer to him.
It's close enough. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I think the reason they chose him for this is that he's a black whistle. And aside from the, like, you know, 10 or so, however many white whistles exist in the world, if there's any, other than the old lady, or whoever she is. I don't know that she's old. But, like, besides them, we have the black whistles of the next layer down. And so in this scene, we get a sort of an exposition of how much more powerful is a black whistle than, more importantly than Rico, than Regu. Because Regu makes a good run for it, but this guy catches up with them. He's just more clever. He knows his way around better. You know?
I really liked when they showed, like, there was one shot during that, like, chase sequence, which was pretty cool, when Regu just, like, he does a big arm swing across this cavern, and of course you're like, well, of course this must shake off their pursuer. Like, how could any human follow? But then, of course, immediately afterward, we're shown, like, specifically, like, the rope ability this guy has. He does, like, a fancy trick thing where he, like, throws it down and slides down on it. Yeah, really good. And it's kind of showing how, like rope skills are, like, fucking OP as shit in this role.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you need to get around, which makes perfect sense.
And I think it's important because this saves this show from ever having to do any kind of power level shit.
Right.
Because it's very clear that Regu is not less powerful than this guy. He is just less experienced. And I think that really gets hammered home, not only from, the chasing, the fact that the guy ends up above them and he's like, how did he get up there? But there's a moment where Regu's like about to like do something, like he's thinking, oh, I'll shoot my arm, and then the guy is just suddenly has him like in his grasp, and it's like before he really could process what was happening, this guy's taking hold of him, because what really makes a Black Whistle is instinct and experience, and that's what Regu doesn't have. So even though he is strong enough physically that he could protect Rico and go all the way to the bottom with probably relative ease, it's being aware of your surroundings, being able to know what you're supposed to do. If he turns his head for a second, Rico's going to get swiped by a fucking giant vulture bird, so like that's where the real weakness of Regu comes in, and I think this was a good way to show that.
Very true. And not to mention, of course, we've got sort of the pre-packaged, like, power level Chekhov's gun of the Mega Man blaster. That was like the first thing Regu ever did. So eventually that will surface, of course, and that'll be the new power level.
But we also
standard.
know that knocks you unconscious and possibly makes you lose all your memories. So,
very true.
And I mean, not just unconscious, but like unable to be woken up except by electric chair.
Yeah.
So if he did have to come down to using that weapon, it would have to be in like the only time he could use it,
Yeah, it's going to be a big deal, of course.
So, yeah. I think this episode, while in itself not the most entertaining, not the most dense with information, it still tells us a lot of things we needed to know. It's a good setup for like, okay, I know we've taken off on the journey, but there's still some more things we need to make sure are established before we like really get into this.
Agreed. I'm hoping next episode, here's my prediction. I think next episode we're going to see... Okay, either the next one is going to be like introducing Layer 2, so it possibly might not be in that one, but soon we will see the leader arc wrapped up when he meets them, either next episode or the next episode after that, and that will be done. And I think they're going to meet the bunny girl in Layer 2 as well. They got to meet her sometime soon. I was watching the end credits, and it looked like, based on like the art style, it looked like they find her in Layer 2, which I guess is maybe spoilery, but
I wasn't sure because I think... It seemed like she came in pretty late into the into the video itself, so I felt like maybe she'd come in halfway through the series. I think if Leader is chasing them, I don't think it'll be resolved in the next episode. I think it'll be left as a hanging thread, so that the show can really convince us that he's not there before he shows up.
That's very true. And, the longer it goes, the more anticipation will build, especially if they, like, reference him more. Because, like, he's clearly an important character. Like, he's been shown in all these flashbacks. He's shown as, like, the one with a direct connect. He was the student of the White Whistle mom lady. Yeah, Liza or whatever.
And now we've had, like, because in the last podcast we did, I accused this guy of, like, being a big fucking idiot. Because it seems like everyone gets away from him all the time and gives him the slip. And to some extent, that still has to be true. Because, like, just in episode 1, they ran away from him, like, 3 times in a row. But, like, there's clearly more going on. He knows things that he has not led on to knowing.
Yeah.
So
he's
maybe he's got more going on than first meets the eye, and revealing that now of all times does make it seem like he's still relevant.
Agreed. Everybody else for the service is dead, though. Don't care about them anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Nat. Nah, you're all right.
Yeah, and I'm glad also that, like, they running into the uncle guy. Like I had said before, like the main people I expect him to encounter is going to be other cave explorers or abyss divers, so like having one right off the bat, but it's like one we know, but like this clearly shows us, okay, this is gonna happen. They're gonna run into abyss divers, all of whom are gonna outclass them. So that'd be interesting.
Very true. And I just have one more thing I wanted to say about the very end of the episode. This is the thing that's going to keep me hyped every fucking episode, no matter how bland it may turn out to be. Not that this episode was bland, but this is going to keep me hyped. It's that at the very end of the episode, you get an updated map showing the current location of the characters descending the abyss. Oh my god, like, fuck the episode. Just show me the map at the end. That's what I'm about.
It's really nice.
That's just like, again, that's like so video gamey, and I just fucking love it. I'm all about that shit. Like, remember, do you ever watch Monster Musume? At the end of those episodes, there would be these info cards that just showed like descriptions of different types of monster girls. This is the equivalent of that, and like that was my favorite part of that fucking show. And this, it's too much to say that this is my favorite part, but it's a great wrap up of every episode. It's fantastic.
I really think Made in Abyss, the creators of this adaptation, like, have a very strong sense of the appeal of this show.
I think so.
Like, they know exactly what you want from this story, which is to learn more about the Abyss, to, like, see the progress of these characters on their quest. Like, they want you to have that, like, world map feeling.
And yeah, like, I was gonna, like, I really doubt that there's that in, like, that existed in the manga. They're not gonna like devote a page to that every month. Maybe like every volume or something. I don't know. But doing it every episode at the end is perfect. It's just the right amount of like getting that video gamey shit. It's so Etrian Odyssey. It's so Etrian. That's what I'm gonna be talking about the entire time. It's so fucking Etrian Odyssey.
Have you even played Etrian Odyssey?
Yeah, I didn't beat it, but like I got down. You descend a bunch of layers and you get down
one?
to
There's like 8.
I want to say 4.
The 3DS one.
You descend a fucking
There's
3DS
ones.
No, it wasn't it was the original DS one. I'll Google it. I'll look this up for next time, and I'll tell you people which Etrian Odyssey I played. But I had like gotten to a certain point where I like found like an elf kingdom, and there was all this new shit, all these new monsters, and like a new world down there. And I just feel like that's very similar to what we're gonna see in this, and I'm just super fucking hyped. It's dope.
All right, everybody, that's it. Probably we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.